In part 3 of this 3-part series, I discuss with David Melone, inventor of in-light therapy devices, looking, feeling, and performing better using photobiomodulation.
From skin to people talk about they're seeing better. People say that they're hearing better.
Mood.
Mood is a
Mood is
hormone balancing
huge.
mood, feeling better, increasing the. Here's one that I find just absolutely fantastic is strength, endurance.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we work with quite a few elite athletes, and where they'll use light therapy pre and post competition or an event or something like that for that reason.
Yeah, I mean so I personally, here's my personal experience with it. I love to ski, and I just should work out more, and I don't. So that first day of ski season, I'm going to ski, and I'll barely be able to walk. I mean, those legs are just burning, right? So if I take a pad like this size, and I were to put this on my after I ski all day, I put this on my thighs, on one on each, and I put it on the calves. The next day, the soreness is gone. The soreness, it really almost stops it before it hits. After you work out, it's really that second day it's going to hurt, right? And for me, it's like I know I'm going to be skiing with family and friends, and you reach a certain age and you worry about I'm even going to be able to keep up. Now I use the device on there, and it is amazing. I can ski the next day without all the pain. Then I found out that if I use it pre, not just post, right? It really accelerates it. So,
Right.
so athletes, I would
Your
use
performance.
exactly, and it. I don't know if it's the nitric oxide. I don't know the mechanism, but I know that that lactic acid, it must do something to disperse that. So because the next day I can ski without any pain and any inflammation. So obviously it's doing what it's supposed to do. When we talked about nitric oxide, for me that was the first time we had a scientific explanation for what we were doing.
Right.
Now we know what we're doing. We didn't know.
Right.
We knew it worked, right? I mean, you tried it one time, right? And it made a change.
Right.
It floors me that people try this device one time and they'll buy it on the spot.
I mean, I've had people with history of migraines at a trade show getting a 20-minute demo, and the migraines go away.
Isn't that amazing?
And that'll buy it right then, like, God, I've tried everything, I'm on disability or whatever, from that, and in 20 minutes. And I'm not saying that works for every single headache, but a whole lot of them, I can say, from what we've seen anecdotally. So let's plug in the pad so we can see the different wavelengths, just have a visual of that, because now we have not just the red and the infrared and the blue, but now we also have green.
Yes.
So, a question that I get asked a lot is like, which pad should I use? I mean, even though it's over and over again that if it's a red infrared, it's going to penetrate, the infrareds going the deepest, the reds going, like medium depth, the blue is more surface, blah, blah, blah. But it's not so much the pad shape itself, right, that's doing the thing, but it's the convenience of the pad for certain areas of the body, correct?
Yeah, the pad shape, that's just different shapes to conform to different areas, right? I mean, with a pad like this, you can wrap it around a multitude of areas. You can use any pad anywhere. It's just some pads are going to be more convenient, more easy to use. We have one that's in the shape of a cap. Of course, it's probably going to be for the head. But
Probably so.
at the same time, you could disassemble that and use these pads in other places. The energy density, the power per pad is the same, right? So you're not getting anything different there. We've just made more convenient, and it's funny. I honestly believed that one pad like this and one controller, all anybody ever want or all anybody would ever need. And I am so wrong. Convenience is absolutely huge.
Absolutely.
So where a lot of people would take one and move it around, that's all I had. Okay, I had one pad, right? One output. So I would take a pad and just move it all over, right? Now we really sell more of the large systems that have like 6 pads, 8 pads with them, and they put the pads all over the body. But I think the question you were asking a second ago was, or a question that was about to come up is what wavelength, what color, what should you use,
Like, because
right?
this one obviously has 3 different wavelengths:
3 different wavelengths.
infrared, blue, and red.
Exactly. Once again, someone said, what would happen if we used 3 different wavelengths? And I said, well, let's find out. So we put it together. I think it enhances the fact that at this point that we talked about a single wavelength, you plateauing, 2 wavelengths, right? Keeping that effect from happening, especially with the cycling and the
Right.
pulsing. And we also talked about the of learning that specific frequencies do different things and they increase it differently, right? So we talked about that. And now what we're learning is specific wavelengths also do that. Is it twice the effect? No. Will it only work? Does green only work on some things? No. That green and infrared pad, which is the newest color, a lot of research on PubMed about the new green and infrared pad. I believe you can probably see the pulsing. We can't see it, but you on the camera, when it's shined directly at, might be able to see that pulsing. Now, you may not be able to see it until I do this. Hang on just a moment. Now you can see it. So what I've done here is I've changed the frequency to a lower frequency. So we're around 72 cycles per second right there.
For setting one.
Instead of, you're right. And the camera can pick that up where our eyes cannot, right?
Yeah.
Just like, we talked about ultraviolet and UV and everything. We can't see this as humans, but animals can, dogs can see this. So, there's a lot of wavelengths out there that we don't know. We don't know what they do, and that's what we're now learning. Just as if there are specific frequencies, there's specific wavelengths. How much more efficacy do you get out of that wavelength than another? I don't know. That's ongoing. The research is always happening. Will there be more colors, more combinations? I'm absolutely certain of it. I mean, we're after 40 years, we're still babies in the whole thing.
Exactly. And the green just came out in your line.
Right.
And you're gonna probably do some more different wavelengths
I'm
of
sure
colors,
as the research
as
comes
the
out.
research comes out, right?
And how did I hear about it, right? People are like, do you spend all your time researching? No, I do not.
Right.
That's what the practitioners do. That's what the doctors do. That's what the scientists do. They research, and then someone brings it to my attention and says, I'm hearing great things about green. They said, can you do it? My first answer is yes. Let's try green. Okay. Have I tried things that didn't work?
Well, so did Edison, right?
Right.
A thousand times or so getting a failure. It wasn't that the story until he got the light bulb to work. Am I remembering this
Yes,
right?
it's something along those lines. They tried and tried and
right,
tried.
right.
I thought, well, Dr. John Ott's work. Dr. John Ott, I don't remember when he was born. I know he did a lot of time-lapse photography for Disney. And he was amazing. He would set a camera up, he would photograph an apple. And when I was little, you would see that before you watched your Disney shows, and they would show that on the Disney, on what was it? On the weekends, they would show that, right?
Cartoons or whatever.
Right. And I remember seeing that, and later I got his book and I read his book, and it was fascinating. It taught me a lot about light, right? Because now I'm very interested. I'm studying light, and I've been in light therapy for a while. When I hear about Dr. Ott, and he found that if he took some fruits and he wanted to keep them clean, right? He wanted to and keep it focused so it just did this. So wind didn't move it, nothing moved it, but it still had to be attached to the tree. So he'd put a glass box around it or a plastic box around it, and different different materials, glass, plastic. He found that the flash bulbs that he was using, different wavelengths of flash bulbs affected the growth of the plant. Now think about that once again, photobiomodulation.
Right.
Right? And we're talking about a plant. We're not talking about a person. And so he would change the wavelength of the bulb, because sometimes I believe the apple would grow and grow and grow and grow and never mature. and that was because it wasn't getting the right wavelength. I know,
Because it was going through the plastic, or
or it was the wrong wavelength of the light he was shining on
okay,
it. And then he found out that the plastic or the glass could attenuate the light. Then a rose could be affected totally different than an apple. I think pumpkins wouldn't grow using the flash that he was using. There's a lot, to get into. So we're talking wavelengths, we're talking all this different factors and the subject that you are modulating, right?
right,
So everything responds to something different.
right.
You mentioned earlier that it may not everybody, it doesn't work for everybody on whatever particular thing, like a migraine, a
Yeah,
headache,
I
something like
mean,
that.
just because 90 people out of 100 it helps their headache, there might be those 10 people that it didn't.
Right.
And there might be something else going on besides the need for an increase in circulation or decrease in pain or inflammation or whatever. There could be something else going on, or they just may not respond to light therapy.
That's exactly
You
it. We're all
know,
different. What I found is a lot of people say that one color, like red, is particularly stimulating. They really feel it. It's stimulating. And then they'll say that the blue light is sedating, and about 10% of the people will report that in reverse.
right?
You
Yeah,
know, I
I've heard
mean,
that a lot.
I'll say the older I get, the less I know, right? And
Right,
I learning all the
right,
time. I think we all are.
right,
I'm not tired of this. I'm still extremely excited and passionate about what
right.
I do.
That's really obvious.
Right?
Now, I just want to point to something.
Yeah.
Right now, you have the pads over your jeans on
Mm-hmm.
your lap.
Yes.
And, though we always tell people, if you can, put it on your skin, it still works going over cloth. I have evidence, hardcore of that. But do you want to say anything about that? I mean, sometimes you just can't get it on skin for whatever reason. You're in a trade show, in an office, somewhere, you're not going to get it on the skin. So should you just not use it? No, use it. Put it over the fabric.
Yeah, I'm just, these are just sitting here, but I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit of warmth. They're slightly warm. They're not very warm at all, but
Right.
I feel that. But I also feel something else. It's hard to describe what you feel. When I use it on my head, I feel kind of light.
Right.
I'll notice that it will lift my mood.
Absolutely.
There's just so many different aspects of it.
All those endorphins are flowing,
Right?
right,
There's
right.
so many things that, like I said, we're just now learning. The number one thing when people ask is, how do I get started? What do I do? Da 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 da. Put it on. Turn
And
it
turn on
on.
this,
Put it on.
put the light against the body as close as you can, on the skin if you can, and on a pad-based system. If it's something else, follow your manufacturer's, instructions on that. If it's some other system, but one of my elderly relatives wouldn't let when I first got my system. My family's my guinea pigs, and she wouldn't let me put it on her. But she had 3 layers of black fabric on, and she took 20 minutes just to walk across the living room, a very small living room, with her walker and plop down in the chair, so hard. And so I put her feet, because the lighter the color of the fabric, the more the light can penetrate. So ideally, it would have been white stockings trying to get the light through. But I just put her stocking feet. I put one of the big pads like this. It was the red one. Hand me one of those, just like this. And she put her hands on it. I know you can't see it, but the hands like this. I put her feet on. She wouldn't let me put the face mask on because she was wearing blackout glasses, that you couldn't get any light in. So I put it in the back of her head. She fell asleep, and which is common with people doing light therapy. She fell asleep. So I went over and I hit the button again and did another 20 minutes. Honestly, God, this is a true story. After she woke up, she was kind of dazed and happy and kind of groggy. And then she kind of looks around and she goes,
So she just got up and
she
walks
got,
off.
she got, she got up and ran off and forgot her walker.
When was the last time you had seen her move
No,
like that?
never. I mean,
Right.
years
Right.
before. Same thing happened. I did a trade show in Kentucky, and it was like a 4 or 5 day trade show. I think it was the chiropractics or something. I don't even know what it was. But we had a booth and we had the lights set up. And so everybody could come in and get a free demo. So every day, this woman wheeled up her 101-year-old father, and he was all crippled up like this, hunched up in his wheelchair. And so we would leave him in the wheelchair, put the pads on him, and they would go away. Then they come back the next day. Sometimes I think they even came back twice. I can't remember exactly, but I think they would come back to like once in the morning, one in the afternoon. But anyway, but it was at least 3 or 4 times that he had had the light therapy. The last day, she rolls him up to our booth. He jumps out of the wheelchair. He's running down the aisle. She's running behind him, chasing him with the wheelchair, saying, "Get back in, get back in." He said, "I just got out of that damn thing. I'm not getting back in." And I have a photograph of me and him and her. And he's like, Mr. Proud, he's so proud because he's standing up. I mean, it can be absolutely life changing. Give people their lives back.
Yeah, I mean, it
On
is
so many levels.
on so many levels.
On so many, which we'll move into next.
People ask, when do you think I'll feel results? And everybody's different. A tremendous amount feel it immediately. Feel it off of the first session. I had a woman, this was reported to me, right? A good friend of mine, Ronnie, since passed. He had a clinic. He was treating people. This woman was a concert pianist. I think 30s to 40s, something like that. And wrist issues, carpal tunnel. I'm not going to diagnose. I don't know exactly. Okay. But the pain was too much. She couldn't play. She comes, she gets a single treatment, never sees her again, never hears anything again, assumes it doesn't work, right? Or it didn't work for her, right? A couple years go by. He is filming a commercial, maybe like 2.5 years, and he's filming a commercial, and he's put a little article out about anybody that's used light therapy that would like to come give a testimonial, and she shows up. And he has no idea what she's going to say. And he said, "Well, I assumed it didn't work," or whatever. She said, "Oh no, pain completely went away. I've been touring for the last 2 years. Single treatment."
Right.
Now, that is not indicative. That is not normal that I know of. I mean, for
Except
things
that
like,
my singing voice, it took 2 sessions.
yeah, and it lasted for,
Well, I mean, that's been 15 years now,
yeah, it,
at least.
we have seen a lot of now, for some things like circulation in the feet. The lack of circulation could be caused by heavy metal toxicity, could be caused by nerve issue, maybe diabetes. You just have poor circulation.
Right.
They would take it and they would do like 6 treatments or 6 weeks of treatments, maybe twice a week. People would start getting some feeling back in their feet. They would start feeling better. Then they would go home after the 6-week treatment, and a couple months later, it would start coming back. And it really is. It is a treatment. It is not a cure. I was asked just yesterday. She asked me, "How often should I use it? How many months or how long?" And I said, "We're not getting any younger." She was about 80, I think.
Right.
And I said, I would use it once, twice, 3 times a week for the rest of your life, maybe even daily. Once again, this is a treatment, and
Right.
it does have the effect. We do know that there's reversing of aging on people. We know that certain factors can cause you to age prematurely, and certain factors can cause you to get younger or biologically younger, right? And this, in conjunction, of course, diet, exercise, vitamins, everything you're going to do.
Part of the same whole.
That's exactly it, right? And that's what I would say. I would say, you've got it. Use it. We designed it to last for years and years.
And I can say that I know that it does.
It's also depending on how it's treated. I will say that. We do have people that will send a pad in and say that they've used it every day for 8 years, right? And a couple LEDs or something went out. And we'll have someone else that uses it every day for 6 months, and it looks like you ran over it with a truck. So I mean, people take care of things differently.
Yeah,
that
they
is
do.
that is for sure,
That's right.
But taken care of lasts a lifetime. And of course, electronics, same way. Stuff's going to last a very, very long time. A lot of the other devices, maybe don't have that longevity planned into them. A lot of devices now actually have the opposite planned into them.
Exactly.
I didn't do that. Now, a couple times in my career, I've thought about it. I thought,
TVs and certain things.
man, maybe I should have put in some. Man, if they wore out, I sure would have sold more. But I didn't do that. Didn't go that route. I'm very happy I didn't.
Planned obsolescence or
Planned
something.
obsolescence.
Right.
That's it. Printer cartridges now that they're timed instead of how much ink is in them. And it just shuts off. I mean, didn't do that.
The work that's being done with cognitive decline, that's one of the instances for sure that we know the person really needs to use the lights daily, because that's a lot of reversing to happen. There's a lot of great research and right now about the benefit of photobiomodulation with cognitive decline and PTSD, all kinds of things happening in the upper part of the body.
This was new to me. Okay. Never considered it, never thought about it. No one had talked about it. They didn't design it for that. Didn't know you could. Okay. And one day I get a phone call. I forgot exactly who it was it called. It was a doctor who he was using spec scanning, and he was scanning people. And a spec scan, I'm not an expert on that whatsoever. It's similar. It's
3D imaging of the brain,
of the
right?
brain, right? I think it breaks it down in voxels, little boxes, breaks it, like maps it, and it shows the circulation in the brain so that you can see, and they color it. So, one color shows it's hyper, circulation, and hypo circulation. So one's extra circulation in some areas, some doesn't have enough circulation, and that could be due to old age, injuries, chemicals, whatever it is. Right. But in this instance, it was a mom who was concerned about a child of hers that had been self-medicating with methamphetamine. The methamphetamine, the scan came back and it wasn't good. I mean, there was a lot of areas that showed diminished circulation. What do they tell you to do? Drink water, take some vitamins. Really not a lot you can do to repair the brain. The body has its immune system. It's going to heal what it can. What it can't, I know, we're going to keep progressing. We're getting older. We're not getting younger. About a year later, she comes back in, brings the child in, a young adult.
And they've done light therapy in the meantime.
We didn't know this. So he comes back
Oh,
in.
okay.
We've not heard this at this point.
Okay.
He comes in, same doctor, same scan, right? Good friend of mine, Dr. Greg. And Dr. Greg, he was like, he reads the scan, he's like, comparing the two, and he's going, this doesn't happen. What did you do? Right? And she goes, I use this LED light therapy device, and happened to be mine, actually, right? And I'm blown away. I'm shocked by it. At some point, a study was funded and a study was done where they took veterans, a lot of military veterans that had been had injuries, cussed, whatever it was, right? But weren't feeling good, weren't feeling right, memory issues, whatever it was, and so now this is FDA cleared, now it doesn't need FDA clearance, for the temporary increase in circulation and decrease in pain. Temporary, not permanent, okay? But so they did a study, same thing. I think they went 6 weeks with one, maybe 12 weeks with another, 2 times a week, okay? And then they waited like 6 weeks to do this follow-up scan, and the follow-up scan showed that the circulation was still there. They did one post, did one pre, one post, and then one even later. So for some reason, right? I don't know what the mechanism is, but when it increased those areas, or increased that circulation, that it seemed to hold, which I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Right? Once again, not a cure. I think my personal experience is I've had a bad head injury that I like to use it frequently. I notice that my own cognitive decline. I notice that if I don't use it, that 2 or 3 tasks in a row, and I'm going to struggle to remember what the third one is, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and specifically what I was talking about is like when they're already in Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you really want them to be using it every day.
Right.
If we're doing preventative or a little bit of, brain health, or, we've had some kind of brain injury or whatever, maybe there's been a number of studies that have been done that they only did it 3 times a week
Right.
for 20 minutes and with, really good results. But, what we're seeing now, and this is anecdotally, and I don't know what the current research is, but that the daily use for someone who's already in Alzheimer's, in decline, is pretty amazing for most people. Of course, we're not making a claim.
And that's another one. And we don't, I mean, I don't know if it's dementia, Alzheimer, head injury, whatever it is, seems to work in a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. And once again, this is something that you're going to consult with your healthcare professional. Right? You're going to ask them, is this safe for use? Should I do this? Right? It's not up to me to diagnose anything like that. All I do is manufacture the device. But I am shocked, blown away, thrilled by the continuing knowledge that we gain, by people using it in new ways, different ways. One of the things that it really helps with is sleep. And we don't read much about that, and I haven't seen much written about it. Maybe there's a lot of articles, but how I know this is this. People will go to trade shows and they apply people will have a session, they'll do a 20-minute session, and they'll say, there's a good chance you might fall asleep. It's funny how many people laugh and say,
So there's
cannot
no
happen.
way that I'm going to fall asleep. I don't sleep more than an hour. I have heard it 1,000 times.
Sound
And
asleep,
then
right? And
it's
the reason it comes up is because we've seen it so many times that you're going to startle them awake. They are
right.
they are sound asleep. So we're warning them. If you fall asleep and
We're
there's
going to
we're going to
touch
have to we're
you.
going to touch you
Right.
and
Because
and
somebody
wake
else is
you up.
waiting to
And we
get
don't
in that
want you to be
chair.
afraid. We want
Right.
you to understand that that's part of it. And people are like, that's not going to happen. And they're just out, just totally out. And another way is a lot of people ask them, remember, how'd you sleep last night? And when you go home tonight, I want you to wake up in the morning and compare those two. Think about how you slept yesterday and think about how you slept after a session. And it is so many people report back, I slept so much better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why? 1,000 reasons.
What I notice is if they need to sleep, they'll go home and just knock out for 14 hours or something. If they can't sleep, if what they needed was energy, they go home and reshingle their roof. It seems the body's so intelligent because it is working with the body's natural intelligence. Every organ, system, cell of the body, every living thing needs light to function properly. And so it just seems like the body's natural intelligence will just, wow, now I have energy. Now I'm going to go clean my house. Or wow, now I've got to go to sleep because I haven't slept for years, continuously. Okay, so let's finish up with the spirituality of light. Now, Marcy Denton, our science teacher for our light energy training seminars, which is to be certified in light therapy, and the Let's Keep It Light podcast is a part of that program that we do teach people how to all about the science. It's not brand specific, it's not device specific, but we're teaching people about photobiomodulation and the ethics of everything, the legal compliance and all that in the course. Marcy, when I first met Marcy, she taught science and forever in public school, and we met at an event, one of your events, I think. And she turned around and said to me, because she had taken one of my online courses where I talked about understanding energy and my model for understanding energy of above the line, below the line, and above the line is the light and things of the light, and would do many podcasts about understanding energy and how this all is connected into light therapy and things of the light. But I just use a very simple model. There's a line above which things are of the light. We connect it to our source, the greatest of all light. That's where things work out. We're happy, joyful, successful, blah, blah, blah. It's all a function of above the line living. We feel better. We move around. We do what we're supposed to do in life. We do the right things for the right reasons, et cetera, et cetera. Below the line is the darker, denser, slower vibrations. At this show, and that's how I explain every modality, healing modality or health modality that I use or have taught, whether it's biofeedback, herbs, homeopathics, whatever, prayer, you know, I teach it from this model of understanding energy. Stay connected to the light, things are going to go better. The light, our source, God, Big Sweetie, whatever name you use for that great source, that great light, never runs out of energy. So Marcy's sitting in the row in front of me, and I get up and ask a question, and she recognizes my voice. She turns around and says, "Aren't you the one that taught the spirituality of light?" Well, I had never heard of it spoken that way, language that way. And then she proceeded to say, "I would love to teach the science of, for your courses," and which she subsequently has done for our program. But when she started languaging that way, it is the spirituality of light that everything that we're doing that's working in our lives, that whether it's a positive intention that you use to create your system in your company, and I mean, it's more than just the pieces, parts that you put together that makes a difference, in my opinion, and I think in your opinion too. It's the intention to help humanity, to create a product that is worthy of their money that they bought it and the time to use it and all of that. But what we're seeing when we're working on clients, because I do see energy some, not as clearly as many of you all who would be listening, or maybe as you see. I see the absence or presence of light. That's how I see it. So I know if someone's sick or possessed or whatever, because I can't see their light. The light's too low, and sometimes it's that they're sick. So whether it's sick on an emotional level, mental level, spiritual level, or physical level, when we're flooding the physical body with this much light, it's got, by the time you put 3 pads on, you've got over 1,000 diodes of light, high quality light with all the things you've already described. We are literally raising the vibrational frequency of that person's being, and on more than just a physical level, because we cannot, if I have a physical body and I have a mental, emotional body, spiritual body, cosmic body, all the energy field, we can't affect one body without affecting the other body. We can either decrease the energy or increase it. So I see it all the time because I see clients constantly. We have all the lights on them. They can come in depressed in a lower state. They may be a living saint, but they can be feeling bummed out and yucky. Today, we've put the lights on them. They leave, they're smiling, they're happy, they feel good, and they're more connected to their source. And I just wonder if you have any opinion about any of that.
Yeah, I would have, 20 years ago, it would have been a little different. 20 years ago, I probably would have said, no, I just believe in the science. I believe in the electronics. I believe in what I've seen, and I believe in the positive results.
Right.
Okay. Moving forward, cymatics. A lot of people don't know what this is. Cymatic is every frequency that we use, like 1 hertz, 2 hertz, 3 hertz, if played through like a cymatic table, metal plate with like sand on it, that frequency has a shape, and that shape is universal. That shape, if I have 1 hertz, you have 1 hertz wherever, right? And the more complicated, or the higher the frequencies go, the more complicated the patterns are. Some of them are very harmonious and very beautiful, and some are not. Just like music, just like sound, right? Like I talked earlier, how light can heal, light could kill, right? I believe sound could do the same thing. I know there are low sound weapons now that they can hit you with low sound that'll immediately make you nauseous, make you sick. Crowd control, right? And there's obviously music and sounds that you can play that are healing and helpful.
Right.
You know, I think it was seeing those patterns and then seeing those patterns in churches and cathedrals of specific wavelengths, that really made me think, now wait a minute, this can't be an accident. How
Right.
could this be an accident? How in the world could every culture, right, have found this pattern? How did they even do it? These churches were built, hundreds of years ago, maybe 1,000 years ago. Yet a lot of them will have the exact same pattern. It's not coincidence. Some will have different ones. That's a frequency that is played, and over that frequency has a physical manifestation. It
Right.
it takes a form.
Right.
And I don't know. It just blew me away. It just all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, it's in an accident. Because I thought it was, okay, wasn't raised with religion, wasn't raised with spirituality. But, the more that I learn, the less I know, and the more I feel like it has to be intelligent design. I don't see how it could not be intelligent design.
Right.
I'm now of the opinion that everything's either miracle or nothing is, and I have to go with everything.
Right.
So yeah, and so, what are we doing? We're energizing the body, we're energizing the spirit, we're energizing, your mood, your emotions. I mean, everything. It's
It's all
all being
connected.
uplifted. And
That's right.
and by the same token, a device with a discordant frequency can have the opposite effect. I mean, what do they say that a double-edged sword? Why do they call something a double-edged sword? Is because one side can cut and one side can kill and one side can heal, right? I mean, so yeah, I think everything has a plus and a minus, a yin and a yang to it, a good and a bad. So yeah, I feel, and intention is another one. I mean, my intention was for this to work.
Right.
My intention on all of it is for it to be the best product it can possibly be and have the most positive result it can have. Intention is a big thing I've noticed in the work that I've done. I had a gentleman who had really bad hips, like you talked about, using a walker. His wife had heard about it. She wanted him to try it. She loved her husband. She wanted him to feel better. He, of course, for whatever reason, us guys can be a little grumpy, or we don't believe it, or maybe we don't even want it,
Right.
or maybe it's financial, or maybe it's whatever, you know.
Maybe it's woo woo.
Yeah, oh, woo! I was considered woo crazy
Maybe
for a
it's
very
woo
long
woo.
time, and there's no way it can work. He did not have an open mind to this therapy, right? He takes a treatment. And like, remember, he comes in with his walker. He finishes the treatment. He, stands up. He goes over to his wife and he's like, nope, nothing, didn't feel anything, didn't help me whatsoever. And she said, but you're standing next to me and your walker's over there and you haven't been able to do that in years.
Right.
He didn't buy one. He never used it again that I know of, right? And people are different. I mean,
Different motivation. Some people love their illnesses, but sometimes it's financial, but sometimes it's the mind, right? Is
wasn't open to it, right?
right.
Interesting quick story. I was at a restaurant I visit frequently, hanging out there, and I live in a resort town, a lot of retired people, and they're like, "You're too young to be retired. How come you can hang out here in the middle of the day?" And I said, "Oh, things worked out, kind of." And finally, they said, "Well, what did you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm not actually retired. They just assumed it." I said, "I do the LED light therapy," and we discussed it and we got into it a little bit. His wife said that that he needs it. I said, one of our primary uses for it is for the feet. It's for neuropathy, bad circulation, whatever, right? And his wife says, well, he needs that. He needs it right now. He's got these sores. And I said, let me guess. Without taking a look, I'm at the other end. I'm sitting there, and I said, "You're how old?" He said, "About 70." I said, "You missing a lot of hair, maybe from the ankle up? You assume that that's all been rubbed off by your socks, right?" And he was going, "Yeah." And the other guy next to him, his buddy, said, "Yeah, mine's rubbed off too." And I said, "Yeah, mine's rubbing off too." And it is not that. That is a symptom of decline. Yeah, circulation is decreased. The hair isn't growing, right?
Right.
And then I said, and then I looked, and I said, "You've got a little." He had an ulcerated wound about this big up high, and I said, "Let me guess." I said, "Are you diabetic?" No. Do you have circulation issues? I do not. I said, heavy metal toxicity? No. I said, did you scratch your leg the other day and it be a minor scratch and today it's this big around a few days later? He said, yes. And I said, well, you definitely have circulatory issues,
And
right?
you just don't know it.
You just don't know it. It was a minor cut, right?
Right.
And it was just expanding. So obviously something was going on there, right?
Right.
He was totally not open to it. It's to the point where he actually said, even if it helped, I don't think I could believe it. And at that point, I was done. I'm not going
Right.
to, I wasn't even trying to sell him on anything. Anyway, I was just explaining that,
Right.
this could work. And his intention is to stay where he's at.
Yeah.
His intention is not to change and not to,
Yeah.
and
It's their
that's it.
choice.
And but there's power in that, I find.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, who was it that said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right either way?
Yeah, I think Mark Twain,
I think
right?
Mark Twain
Right.
said that. And,
Right.
and what is he saying? He's saying that
As a man thinketh.
exactly. If you don't think you can do it, then you can't.
Yeah.
But if you think you can, then you can, and you do. I mean, and that's the whole thing. That's how great things happen. Someone thinks they can. And if you can, I don't think you can be given a dream that you can't accomplish.
Right.
Okay, I think if you're given that dream, you've already had the ideation of it, and I think if you work forward, if you take one step, that you'll get there. So, looking at that, talking about the spirituality of it all, I absolutely think that's a component of everything.
Right.
I think we have free will, and I think our free will we get to decide: do we believe in something, and do we want it to work, or do we not believe in it? And it's going to do exactly what you want. I mean, most people come into this with a totally open mind. Might help, might not. You
Right.
know, some people have, even though they're skeptical, may have, yeah, great results. We had a gentleman yesterday that
Yesterday, right.
I could tell he was there for his wife. He wasn't there for himself.
Right.
She was the one that was very interested. She was the one that talked about it. And you said that while this is going on, if anybody just wants to lay back there and put the
Have a
mask
session.
on, you
Right.
meditate, try a session, go right ahead. And at the end of the 20-minute session, he was disappointed. I think that it ended, and
Oh,
he,
he asked me. I said, "Do you want me to turn it on again?"
yeah,
And he said yes.
yeah.
So he had got 40 minutes.
40 minutes. And at the end, I know he certainly didn't object when his wife took one home.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right. That's right. No,
Now
he
these were
didn't.
also medical professionals,
Yeah,
right?
that's
These
right.
these people had a lot of
Oh,
questions.
absolutely.
They were
Great
they were
questions.
great.
Yeah.
They were here for the science,
Yes.
and they had tough questions,
Yeah.
and I think we answered them between the two of us and the other people in the room that had the positive experiences with it. I mean, we had a room full of people that had been trying it and using it, and I think it went well. I think that worked.
I think it worked great. And so this is David Melone, our guest today, and he is the owner and an inventor of the Inlight Therapy Systems, and they are in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, we are located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We no longer actually manufacture the product ourselves. We did that for years. COVID, we outsourced to a couple different locations. Of course, we oversee the design and everything.
Right.
I actually live in Angel Fire now.
Okay.
We have a distribution center that distributes the product all over the United States in Albuquerque. Mainly, it's done in Angel Fire because this is what I love to do. And the one thing I found over the years is the person that cares the most is the one that needs to be there. The person that loves it the most and cares about it the most is really the only person to test them and look at them and oversee and make sure. I could go away for a week or two, but I certainly couldn't leave for a year or two, right?
Right.
Someone, even packaging the boxes. We'll be packaging a box and I'll have someone there and maybe it's slightly sloppy, right? That's what I always say. I said, look, if you don't care, who's going to?
Right.
You have to care. So no sloppy. Every single thing done the exact same way. How do you want to receive this? You
Right.
know, I mean, and I think it goes to the overall, first of all, the passion of it, loving it, and just caring the most. I sometimes I think that maybe you're called to something, you're given something, right? And that's something that you can do, you're going to do. But if you lose that passion, if you stop that caring, then I think it could be given to someone else. Light therapy is going to be around. It's always going to be around. I
Right.
didn't invent it. I didn't discover it. It's been around. The sun is light therapy, right?
Right.
But this particular product line, and I will say this, and I'll be less than humble at this point. I believe that the proliferation of this had a lot to do with that original work that Dan and I did. I
Sure.
mean, 40 years ago, when nobody was doing this, we did it.
Right.
And then you think of the hundreds of thousands of devices that have been out in the world that a lot of them still used. And then that sparked the idea of someone trying green light. I didn't try green light. Someone
Right.
else tried green light and had positive results with it.
Right.
So I'm thrilled. I want to thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I don't normally do these, and when you invited, I said yes. Right?
And thank you for saying yes,
Thank you.
because
Thank you for inviting me.
we've been wanting to hear what you have to say about all these details for a long, long time now. And so to actually archive it on film, it's really important. And so if somebody wants to know more about your company or how to get your product or whatever, have you talk somewhere, how do they get in touch with you?
Yes, the name of the company is Inlight Therapy. Inlight Therapy, you can find us on the website, inlighttherapyinc.com. There you can fill out forms, and we don't actually, as a company, we do not retail the product. We have representatives, doctors, nurses, practitioners, salespeople. We will put you in touch with someone, and then you can talk to it, maybe try it, and find out more about the product that way. And that's really the way that the way that we sell it, and the way that we don't personally market it. We don't advertise. We have never advertised this product. I've never once asked anybody to buy one. I always feel like that. Making them's enough, man. I can't make them and sell them, right? So
Right.
that's where we rely on everybody
Right.
else. For a long time as a device manufacturer, you couldn't have gotten a hold of me. I definitely would have stayed in the background. I didn't ever want to cross the line. Now we're to the point with a new category with the ILY that I feel confident and free enough to say, yeah, we manufacture this device. I feel like it's the best device on the market, and we're going to continue to grow, innovate, and improve, and we'll be here for a long time, and we will take care of you. So thank you, everyone. And by the way, my name is David Melone, and it was so great to be here.
Thank you, David.
Ginger Bowler has a doctorate in energy medicine and is a certified light therapy instructor, biofeedback instructor, and co-founder of the Light Energy Training Seminars certification program. You can send us an email with your questions and comments to podcast@letskeepitlight.com, and be sure to visit us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And remember, let's keep it light.